Adam Fitzpatrick was meant to be one of the lucky ones. He survived an horrific crash, only to have his life taken from him by a series of catastrophic mistakes at the hands of the intensive care staff. Tonight, in a joint investigation with the Sydney Morning Herald, his family's fight for answers.
In a country town of only 200 people, everyone always knew when Adam Fitzpatrick was home.
He'd, have his window down, arm out the window, singing to his favourite song every time he would come home.
Adam's sister Amanda knows he's not going to roll down the dusty driveway, but finds comfort in taking his pride and joy out for a spin.
Yeah, his ute, his dog and his girl, that was all he really needed.
In August last year, Adam survived this, when the ute he was driving ran off the road in Hay in southern New South Wales.
He was such a strong sort of person, and big heart, strong person, and to see him reduced to that was just horrendous.
But his injuries wouldn't kill him. Instead, a catastrophic series of events caused by preventable mistakes at the hands of intensive care staff would result in his death.
As Adam's parents, what do you say to St George Hospital?
You killed my son. That's all I can say. He was a 20-year-old with a whole future ahead of him, a beautiful girl that he wanted to marry, a job that he loved, everything going for him. And 5 days before his 21st birthday, you took his life.
I mean, a hospital's the one place you think you're going to be safe.
Yeah. And I live forever with the knowledge that I told him he was.
Suffering severe head injuries, Adam was flown to one of Sydney's major trauma hospitals.
We were so pleased when we heard he was heading to St George, because we thought that's where we'll get the best care.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he didn't.
Adam was expected to make a full recovery, even after facial reconstruction surgery. To help Adam breathe, doctors performed a tracheotomy, inserting a tube into his airway. In ICU, where patients are supposed to be watched 24/7, it was Adam's mum constantly at his bedside, growing increasingly concerned his trachea wasn't secured properly.
Adam woke and moved around a bit, and the tube that connects the trachea to the ventilator machine became disconnected from Adam's trachea.
Isn't he meant to have someone watching him the whole time?
Yes, he was on one-to-one supervision.
And no one was there?
Nobody was there. And nobody came when the alarms were going off.
6 days later, while Pip slipped out to have some lunch, her mother's intuition would prove her right in one devastating phone call from the hospital.
They said that there'd been an incident, that Adam's tube had become blocked, but that they'd managed to unblock it. They said he'd gone into cardiac arrest.
I remember she said, "Oh my God, you've killed my son."
I knew from the very moment we walked in there that Adam wasn't going to make it, and I knew he was brain dead. And at the time, all I could think of was that ignorance would be so bliss right now.
Cheers.
Amanda is a paramedic, so she understood that being brain dead meant Adam wouldn't survive.
I felt that I had a responsibility to talk to my family and tell them what was going to happen, because nobody else in the room was brave enough to stand up and tell them and tell us that Adam was going to die, and that responsibility was left greatly to myself and my mum.
Adam's other sister, Emma, is a lawyer.
The way that everything was handled afterwards is a horrible reflection on them. Nobody's had the guts to stand up and say what happened, and Adam deserves that.
But there was no real empathy or connection in there. I felt like it was a bunch of robots talking to us.
So, armed with medical and legal knowledge, the Fitzpatricks started to ask questions.
We were like the enemy. As soon as we asked questions, we were basically treated like the enemy.
They knew we were from the country, and they thought, you know, we can tell them anything. They have no clue, and they thought they could just sweep it under the carpet and tell us, you know, that everything possible was done.
Hopefully learn some way of improving at home.
Instead of just being able to grieve, Adam's family had to fight to find out why he died. His medical records didn't explain it. Some even went missing. But finally, 6 months after his death, they got some answers. This is it, a root cause analysis conducted by New South Wales health investigators. 30 pages, ultimately finding an ineffective emergency response led to the patient's death.
15 systems improvement opportunities. That's how they put it, but what would you call those?
15 failures of care, 15 errors.
It was one mistake after another.
It was not just one accident, it was constant. They just really couldn't have done more wrong, I think, if they'd tried.
What shocks me is that there is so much in there that isn't a mistake. It's a conscious decision to go against the rules, to go against procedure and policy.
The root cause analysis found the junior doctors on shift should have called specialists to come and help, but instead told them everything was under control. It wasn't. In an attempt to ventilate Adam, they gave him a drug that paralysed his lungs. He went into cardiac arrest, and while they performed CPR, spent 40 minutes without oxygen. Finally, they called someone senior, who had been in their office the whole time. They fixed the trachea, realising it had not been blocked, but dislodged. But by then, it was too late. Adam was brain dead.
When you start to read this, what's going through your head?
That it was just so much worse than we thought. We knew that things had gone wrong and we knew that things hadn't been done right, but it just revealed so many things that had gone wrong, and it made it very clear that Adam just didn't have any chance at all.
Well, you trust the doctors, don't you? Who else can we trust?
You put your absolute faith and trust in them, and you'd never question them or think that anything like what has happened would happen. You just have blind faith, really.
If you cover up someone's death, I would think that borders on criminal myself.
15 months on, nobody has been publicly reprimanded over Adam's death. A complaint lodged with the Healthcare Complaints Commission seems to have fallen on deaf ears.
The HCCC have come back and said there is no risk to public health or safety requiring further investigation. How does that sit with you?
There was a huge public health risk to Adam. How can they say there isn't one? Who is regulating? Who is making sure that the hospital system is accountable?
It would seem the cracks were starting to show here at St George Hospital's intensive care unit years before Adam's death. We're told a group of staff specialists walked out in 2018 over claims of bullying and harassment. So serious they felt they were unable to do their jobs. The problem was so bad a year later, the unit lost its teaching accreditation and still has not got it back, meaning this ICU is no longer trusted to train doctors. In a statement, St George Hospital says it
acknowledges that Mr. Adam Fitzpatrick did not receive the care he deserved in August 2020 and has personally extended our sincere apology to his family.
It also says
the hospital is committed to processes that result in learning from incidents and to improving the care we provide to our patients.
Doctors are human and humans make mistakes, but we can't get Adam back. But how many more people are out there that are at risk?
The New South Wales coroner has now requested the hospital hand over all documents in relation to Adam Fitzpatrick. His family welcomes a public inquiry, but fears the medical staff involved may never be held responsible.
That root cause analysis can't be used in any legal proceedings. They've only admitted what's happened in the root cause analysis because they can't be held accountable.
You miss him?
I do. I miss him every minute of every day. I think the story, it's bigger than Adam. It's not just Adam. It's that it can happen to anybody and it shouldn't be hidden. It shouldn't be kept hidden away. It shouldn't be covered up. It needs to be out there, and if it's not out there, nothing can be done to fix it.
St George Hospital promised the Fitzpatrick family it would conduct an internal investigation, but after the coroner stepped in, the hospital says that will no longer happen. Now, you would think that there would be some kind of urgency about this. Don't worry, we'll stay on it.